I've got a marketing plan for the podcast.
What? I don't understand. You've got me unawares there. So I've gone instantly into panic. What? Sorry, you've got a marketing plan?
Yes, for the podcast.
What does this involve?
So the government is sending out these little things to everyone's phone next Sunday.
The emergency response thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to make an alarm.
Do you reckon they could play our podcast rather than just a standard alarm?
I think people would be very confused if they just heard me and you rabbiting on about films and some random television.
Think of the numbers, though. Think of the numbers.
I'm not sure. I think it might frighten people away, given that it's an emergency broadcast. Where something terrible has happened. Oh, look, here's Mark and Elaine to tell you about it.
Have you ever been to a country where this happened?
No, I've never.
Oh, it's weird.
Yeah. Obviously you have then.
Yeah, Florida has them. So when I went to Florida a few years back for a friend's wedding, we're all sat in a restaurant and literally everyone's phone started, because it doesn't make it didn't at the time, didn't make just like a standard ring noise. It was like proper.
Well, yeah, it's an emergency, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the emergency?
They have them there for children that have gone missing.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
I was thinking hurricanes, and I was thinking, I'm sure you didn't get caught up in Twister.
No, I think there's the different colour alerts. So there's one for elderly people who might be suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia.
Okay.
There's one for vulnerable adults, and I think there's one for just general
missing
Godzilla's
people.
come in.
Sorry, right. Godzilla's gone missing. No, so terrible things are occurring.
Yeah.
Batten down the hatches.
Earthquake,
and,
aliens.
Yeah. Aliens, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Not really.
I
mean, it would.
Alert, the aliens are here. Thank you for your marketing plan.
Rejected.
Watching television.
Going to start with Succession.
We're going to start with Succession.
And there are no spoilers in this.
No, so no spoilers for anything, to be quite honest with you.
If you want to know nothing about what's happening on this season of Succession, then fair play to you. How have you managed to get through the past week? But I think we can talk about themes and things like that. But we're not going to talk about actual plot points.
I think you're right to say that if you haven't watched Succession ever and you've managed to avoid everything, or at least avoid sort of major plot points, don't listen to us. Just go away and don't listen to the ruse and watch it in your own time and then come back later, because there's nothing worse.
Hang on, I'll challenge you on this.
What?
Right? If you don't watch it, if you've never watched it ever, then I don't think anything we're going to say is going to make a bit of difference.
Do you know what I mean? If people are waiting to, you're just going, this case in point, you are watching Downton Abbey and you don't know anything that's happened in Downton Abbey, which I am finding fascinating, because Downton Abbey started years ago, proper years ago, and I was wanting to shout major plot points at you, or character names, for example, and you just, it wouldn't have mattered. You didn't know. But
so there's one thing. There's
that.
one thing that I know that happens.
Okay.
I know the fate of one character,
right?
Who may or may not enjoy a little drive in the country or whatever.
Okay, right.
But
you didn't know some other things that happened quite early on.
I didn't know about Hugo, whatever his name is.
Hugo what?
Who's Mr. Vantouche, or whatever his name is?
Mr. Panook?
Mr. Panook.
Who's Hugo?
What's his name?
Well, he's just Mr. Panook.
No, but the actor's name.
in real life? Oh, I don't know.
It's not Hugo, but it's another name that I think is which I associate. Oh, this is going to be offensive to so many people.
But yeah, and I wanted to shout Mr. Panook at you because that became a real thing with it in series 1 of Downton Abbey. But you just didn't know, so that's what I'm thinking about. People who take a long time to get to shows. This is a very long-winded way of getting around to what we think of Succession. So
Succession has come back for its 4th season, and we have been huge fans of the first 3. I think it's safe to say. As of a lot, this has become a proper breakout hit for HBO. A bit of a slow burn. I don't think many people were watching when the first series was on, but people have caught up between the series. And this is now, we're very, very nearly getting up at 5 o'clock stage to watch this before work. I don't think we're quite there yet. But
no, but that's because of our current lifestyle.
Yes.
Which is that we get up at 5 o'clock anyway, every day, because someone wakes us up
so why don't we just put it
makes us get up. Because he wouldn't watch it. That would be the thing. We don't have control of the remote control in our house. We wouldn't be allowed to watch it. Someone would tell us that it wasn't the program that you wanted to watch. So it's not like we can even.
Sorry, we've got to watch Colour Blocks instead.
I agree with you. I think this has been a slow burner and now has like taken over the world where, you know, New York Times are running profiles and there are so many podcasts about it as well, which I think is always, for me, it gives me a sense of how big something's got. When we did Line of Duty, when we did that fateful time that we did Line of Duty live after the episode had finished in the last series. I
mean, can I just point out that all podcasts are live?
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I meant straight after. Like, we didn't wait a few days. It was like our super
all
duper...
podcasts are live? No podcasts are live. Which one is it?
Can I speak?
No. Theo James as well, not Hugo.
God. Oh, well, Theo and Hugo. It's just posh, isn't it? Yeah. What was I saying? Right. When that Line of Duty podcast, the numbers that we had for that were just phenomenal, and I couldn't really understand who was listening to us at like 10 o'clock at night when we were releasing it. But those like Line of Duty podcast became just massive, and everyone and their aunt was doing a Line of Duty podcast, which really showed me that was a breakout hit. It's the same with Succession. It's actually Yellowjackets has gone the same way, but I'll come back to that later on. It just gives you an insight into, you know, you've got celebrities doing it, you've got people in their bedrooms doing it, you've got, you know, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's really become a talking point, Succession.
Yes. It's water cooler TV in an age where water cooler TV doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It is, it's so important that this is released weekly, because can you imagine if it was all at once on the Netflix model?
I think it would be that sort of thing where you've eaten, and this isn't any reflection on me, so many Easter eggs over Easter that you almost like you've got that sugar high and that adrenaline rush, and I think my little brain would explode if I watched all of Succession in one go, because that's what I would need to do with it. I'd need to be like, right, next episode. So I agree with you. It would be. It's right that they've done this weekly reveal, because so much happens in an episode as well. I don't breathe when I'm watching Succession. I've realised this, and certainly in the last episode, which is episode 3, was the last episode that we've seen, I found myself, like, I was consciously suddenly realising that I was biting my nails, which I do anyway, but biting my nails more than usual, and I wasn't breathing. I was like holding my breath because things were just so heightened. I couldn't quite cope.
I'm just going to take a second and explain the plot, because I think there probably are people out there who've never heard of Succession, because it's not on BBC, it's not on Sky. It's not on Netflix. It's on Sky Atlantic. It is the story of essentially the Murdochs, just by any other name, the Roys.
Yes, I think inspiration has been taken
somewhere
from
between
major families.
Yes, they are a family business who own Waystar Royco, which is a conglomerate of news, theme parks, cruises. So it's a little bit Fox, it's a little bit like Disney.
It's a bit Disney, yeah.
And it is the story of Logan Roy, who is the patriarch of the family, played by Brian Cox, not the scientist, the other one, who is getting on in years and is looking, and the battle between him and his children about who takes over the business. I mean, it's a little bit like, I mean, that's the start of Arrested Development as well, the TV show. This goes a very different direction to Arrested Development.
Yeah.
But,
and it is, lots of people say, pigeonhole it as like a dark comedy. And I'm on the fence with that a little bit, because I think there are moments of levity because life has that. But I don't think of it as a comedy. I think of it as a very, very well-written drama that doesn't go down the routes that you would imagine, and which has dialogue which is so good and so quick and well-written that I think it has comedic moments, because you are laughing at the glorious nature of the words that are coming out of people's mouths. But I don't think it's in inverted commas, comedy. What do you think?
So I think people pigeonhole that because it's created by Jesse Armstrong, although despite who wrote Peep Show most famously. This is very much an American show though, and I think people say, so I think there are comedic characters. There is Cousin Greg, who is played by Nicholas Hirsch, who is very much a comedic character. Roman Roy, played by Kieran Culkin, is again very much a comedic character. Right, sort of 80% of the time. You know, he's
a quick mouth.
Yes,
is what he is.
He's the one with the quick wit, the horrible
expletives
comments,
and
yes.
the horrible, and the things that you think, how can he get away with saying that?
However, with Kieran Culkin, I think he has been an absolute star of these. It's that other 20% where he just flips it. He started out as a comedy character. I now feel like he might be the one who is best qualified to take over this business.
Yeah.
Matthew McFadden as Tom.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to go through
You're just
the
going to
entire
list
cast.
it if you keep going.
But
yeah.
Matthew McFadden, I mean, he does play like Tim Nicebook Dim.
I don't think I'm not convinced that is the case. I think he's someone who is sort of almost like upper middle class, done really well in sort of like the corporate world, but has got himself into a position with this incredibly rich, incredibly powerful family, and is clearly bottom of the table with that, and then has just worked his way, and we haven't seen much of a executive acumen from Tom, but he clearly does do stuff, and he's clearly good enough to be in the positions that he's in. I think that the show doesn't necessarily show us him at work or him doing things, but he's clever in certain ways because he's the Machiavellian nature of it all means that he's twisting and turning with the rest of the plot and making decisions.
Yes.
So in some senses you could think, oh, he's very clever in the way that he's positioned himself. But and there was something in the last episode where all of that sort of went away for a moment with him. And he was just talking to someone in a very human way. And I think that's the power of Matthew McFadden's performance, is that he's not just comic. He's not just, oh, isn't Tom being stupid? We know that this is a rounded character with lots of different facets to them. And perhaps if he was in a marriage that worked, he wouldn't feel the need to maybe put down other people or to have that quite abusive relationship with Greg. I think the fact that we have spent all this time sort of just almost like going through different characters, I mean, we haven't even got to some of the main characters yet, is really testament to the fact that this is, for me, some of the best television that I've ever watched. I look forward to every episode. I don't want to look up spoilers. I don't want to know, I got spoiled really quite badly for one of the recent episodes and I was gutted. Like, I was properly annoyed because I wasn't looking for spoilers. I just happened to look at something and an idiot had put a major plot point out there, not even trying to hide it or say, oh, this is an important episode or something like that. I genuinely think the writing process as well. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, I've watched a lot of stuff about the writing process. I just think these are incredibly talented people all working together, and there's some sort of chemistry happening there that makes this show so watchable, even though the people in it are completely not the sort of people that we would ever want to hang around with. They're not anywhere near our social circle. They are just, there's so much grotesque use of power and throwing away of money and throwing away of privilege that they're really quite unlikable as people. Yet
that is the argument that I've heard from people who can't get into the show, is that why would I want to watch unlikable rich people? And fair enough. I think this is a better show than the show that they think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you're quite right. I think they humanise these people to show that they are. I think it shows just how horrible money can make people as well,
and how money doesn't make you happy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, having said that, I really would love one of those cruises where you just waited on 24/7.
Or someone to come along and like, where's my helicopter?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I'm waiting for my helicopter. Or just like lots of people in the show have PAs. Lots of people have like personal assistants that just do things for them. They just ring them and go, right, I want this, this, and this, and I'd like that in the next minute. Thank you. You know, something on the phone. And I'm like, oh, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Someone to just do stuff.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad.
Like just sort your life out for you. But that is the main point for me, is that the cleverness is that even when it's someone who you can't really find yourself, you know, you're thinking, how do I connect with this person? You connect with them on a human level. You take the money away. You know, you're going through jealousy. You're going through marriage breakdown. You're going through where you're positioned in a family. All of, you know, toxic parenting, you know, that all of those things where you go, I recognize those things, and yes, I might not be in a chateau with a parent who's being abusive, or, you know, sort of like emotionally abusive, but I can recognize that those relationships occur in real life. I think it's absolutely brilliant, which is why I'm still going on about it.
Worth saying that this is the last series, so, you know, it's like that thing in Scream, all cards are on the table, and and we have seen storyline progression beyond what we have seen, you would typically see in a series, even in the first three episodes of this. I can't wait. Like, this is a definite, if we were watching this to do the test, I would watch this before I watched Only Connect.
Which that's wow, okay. So on a Monday night, you would hold your horses on Only Connect and you would watch Succession first.
I think that's what I put on the poster for the next few episodes. Yeah.
Would watch before Only Connect.
Mark Gregerson, Honeymoon Period podcast.
Well, it's a good job Only Connect's finished at the moment, because, you know, you don't have to make that choice.
I mean, that would be definitely,
It would be hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, big recommend from us. I don't think we're saying anything that anyone. I don't think we're coming up with anything that anyone else wouldn't say. But no. I think it's really important to acknowledge what a major show this is. I mean, I cannot imagine anything being my, you know, show of the year. To be quite honest with you.
I mean, they've still got time to fuck this
up. They have, but I don't think they will. I'm not worried.
Wait till the aliens arrive.
Really not worried. You're obsessed with the aliens tonight, love.
Oh, yeah. Yellowjackets.
Yes.
We are in the second series. Well, one of us is.
Well, one of us is. So normally we watch this together. We watched the whole of season 1 together. We really enjoyed it, didn't we? I mean, it was very much a show that was appearing on our top 10 list last year.
It appeared on both of ours.
Yeah. And really enjoyed the it's so rare, you know, to have a show that has so many women at the heart of it, where it's not just let's look at the women all together in their 20s, going out and going partying and things like that, because you get, you know, shows like that. I'm thinking sort of like Sex and the City, for example. This is about women as they are now, in lots of different ways, lots of different types of women, but also them as teenagers as well. So you're really getting that dual narrative of teenage girls and how they react, but also what happens when they grow up.
Yeah, for the people who haven't heard of this is a story of a high school soccer team who crash travelling to a tournament and a plane.
In the 90s.
The Flash crashed in the middle of a Canadian forest. No one around for miles. So they have to get by on each other. And it's a dual... It flips between timelines of them and also the people once they have come home and dealing with the tragedy and looking out... Yeah, how they deal with it and how they look after each other and... also how they cope with what they became in the forest. Yeah,
and we don't really know what completely happened. So we're starting to learn that as, you know, as the episodes go on, you get a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yes.
And as the two timelines sort of increase. And there's this element, this this potentially supernatural element as well. So the show tells us in various ways that there might be something in the forest, that there might be a presence or something going on. Or it could be all in their minds. It could be coincidence.
Smoke monster.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's various.
Dharma initiative.
People seem to be having visions or having, but of course, when you are completely starving, when you don't have anything around you, when you're stuck in the wilderness, you might start to have some sort of visions. You might be mentally unwell and you haven't got access to medication. So there's all those things that it's pulling at your mind quite a lot of, is this real or is this in their minds? And I quite enjoy that. I'm a bit worried it's going to kind of go maybe down one route or another, because I'm quite liking the ambiguity. But the other thing to mention is that this absolutely scares the shit out of me. I am terrified of this show. I find it really hard to watch, particularly if I'm watching it by myself. I really find it hard. There's a lot of horror in there. There's a lot of psychological horror. There is some gore as well, which I'm not that worried about. But there's a darkness to it at times that scares me.
Okay.
And that has come about more recently because, to pull it round to what you were going to say, I started Yellowjackets. Did I start it with you? Or did I start it separate? I can't
Season
remember.
2, I wasn't well the weekend before I went away, so you started it.
Yes, I started it, and you went and watched it together. I started it, and then when you went away to Los Angeles recently, I carried on watching it, and I am now completely up to date at episode 4. And I've not watched any with you, and I've had to sit, when I've been watching it by myself, behind a pillow, and I've had to fast forward through certain things. And I've found it really, really hard without having you here as like backup. If you're sitting in a house by yourself, like just a quiet house, watching it, for me, it's terrifying. So I have, not wanting to go down too a romantic route, I have missed sitting with you and watching this.
I don't know why I'm not watching this.
That was going to be my next question.
So I took like I say, I was ill when the first episode was on, and I was just trying to sleep it off before I went away. I took the episode on the plane with me, and I watched the first episode, the second series, and it just did not hook me at all. And there's loads of like really noteworthy things going on, but I just don't understand what it is. All I can say is like there is very complex plots in this, and very complex relationships, and I don't think I remembered a lot of them very well, and that might be why I was on the end. It was also like watching things on a plane and a tablet is never good when the sun's shining through the window, and it might be that I need to give it another shot on a telly on a quiet night and something like that. But yeah, the first episode just did not get me at all. I want to watch it because this is one of my favourite shows of last year, and I think it's got brilliant actresses in there. I really hope it's not got a supernatural thing to it, and I think that might be a jump the shark moment for me if there is. I'm happy them just living in this world and it being a bit Lord of the Flies with women. Not that I've read Lord of the Flies, but
you know
yeah,
the references.
I'm aware of the concept.
Again, this isn't a surprise to me because I think there have been some rumblings of this sort of in the podcasting world and in the reviews that I've read. When I got to episode 3, I tweeted to say that I felt that the plot lines were now becoming just so many and so complicated that I was finding it hard to sort of keep going with them.
Yes.
But also it meant that we were jumping backwards and forwards in time a huge amount between different people, and actually I really wanted to spend more time with the teenage girls.
Yes.
Back in the wilderness to understand how they were living, how they were coping, the different relationships that they were forming there. And when we were going back to the present day, I found myself getting not bored, but just not feeling as, I suppose, pulled to watch that. You know, you don't
Yes.
feel that compulsion to like stay with it and thinking, oh wow, brilliant, I'm with, you know, this character and I really want. And certain characters and their storylines, I'm genuinely now just not interested in. So there's a character called Shauna who there's quite a central plot line with her in the past, in the 90s.
Yeah.
And particularly between her and her best friend Jackie, and things that have gone on with them. And then in the present day, Shauna, who's played by Melanie, you're going to have to remind me of it. Is it Linsky? The
Yes.
surname. So Melanie Linsky, who's brilliant, who's absolutely brilliant, I love her. In season 1, I really loved watching what older Shauna was doing and what younger Shauna was doing. But in this second series, older Shauna and her family dynamic just isn't doing anything for me, and we're spending quite a lot of time with her and her husband and her daughter, and you're kind of like, it's just not going anywhere. It's just them doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm finding myself not enjoying being with that character, which is just very odd compared to, you know, the season 1.
Yes.
There were also I suppose season 1, we knew of certain characters and certain characters' fates because we saw the older versions of them. And some people, it was sort of just left. We didn't know whether they had died in the forest or later on, or if they just weren't around. They have brought in older versions of other characters. And one older version, I just cannot marry the teenage girl with this older actress. People keep saying that it's a really good match, and I'm finding it really hard because when she comes on screen, I cannot get my head. I just think, you are an actress. I don't think, oh, you're an older version of the character that I'm seeing in the past. Whereas, for example, there's a character played by Juliette Lewis.
Yes.
And I can absolutely see the body language, the way that the mind's working, the voice, you know, it's like those two actresses have, the younger and the older, have really worked on marrying their character together. Same with the Shauna character. You can really, it's almost like it's a family member. But this character, the older version of them, I just can't do it.
Okay.
I find it's a performance rather than a true representation.
I think in some cases, like, the casting on season 1 was so great that, like, it just becomes like muscle memory to say, oh yeah, and the casting in this is so brilliant. Yeah. And I think we've seen some really good older, younger casting in recent years. I'm thinking of like the It movies. Yeah. Thinking of, what was that show? What was the show with Amy Adams? And there was a younger version of her.
Oh, yes,
and
yeah. And it was a Sky show, wasn't it? And it was, she had like an abusive relationship.
Sharp Objects.
But that's it. That's
Yes.
you got everyone. Yeah.
And there's a younger version there that really
really good.
good. But I think we've got so good at this now that I think when there's a poor one that slips through, it's quite easy that people just go, probably good. Yeah, we'll go
I just
for that.
can't marry the two. Even just the way that they're speaking, it's like the older version has an accent that the younger one doesn't have, and it just doesn't quite work. But anyway, I still really love this show. Like, I know I'm sort of sound like I'm going on a downward slope with it. Episode 4 pulled me back in a little bit.
Okay.
There's a brilliant use of and it is throughout the whole of the show. There's a brilliant use of 90s music, and there are some amazing edits and direction that I really enjoyed in episode 4, particularly between Christina Ricci and he's Lord of the Rings. He's Frodo, Elijah Wood. Thank you. You didn't even have to say anything.
I didn't even know he was in this.
You didn't, yeah. Oh, right. Well, he's in one of the earlier episodes. Oh, sorry if you.
I don't think he's in the first episode, but then I was half asleep on a plane. Yeah.
But anyway, there's a really lovely piece of direction between those two that I really enjoyed. So you've got that to come if you carry on with it. But I do think you should. I do think you should, and I'm happy to watch them again with you. You know, because I think okay.
Because you shout out things that you shouldn't, and we've seen this so many times. Like, remember when I was watching True Blood?
No.
And you were like, "Oh, is that the one that's a I can't remember what the thing
Werewolf.
was. You found out that he's and I can't remember what it was yet, but yeah, it was like, nope, he's just a character that's just rocked up and he's just standard person at the minute, but thanks for that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she's a fairy, isn't she? No, that's not been revealed yet. Yeah.
I don't think I said that.
You did. You
Did I?
genuinely did. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. Could we talk about jury duty?
You can, yeah. Go on. You
This
lead
is
on this.
this is a show which no one seems to be talking about because I think this is on Amazon Freevee. Do you know what Amazon Freevee is?
But it's Amazon Prime, isn't it?
No.
Oh, okay. No, then.
So you know when we watched
There you
this?
are.
You know when we watched this and there was adverts in it?
Yes, and you fast forward it.
No, you can't fast forward through the
You
adverts.
can't fast forward. No, really.
Yes.
I don't think I was watching particularly well.
This is going to be a good review from
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
now,
I think it's
isn't
going to be a
it?
review from you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you said you would put it on because we were. Sorry, everyone. You said that you said, "Oh, what is there to watch?" I was like, "Oh, there isn't anything to watch." And you just said, "Oh, can I just put this jury duty on?" I said, "Yes, I'll just sit on my laptop."
Yes.
So I've sort of half watched it with you. Yeah.
So this is a show that's on Amazon Freevee. I think it's just called Freevee. I don't think it's even called Amazon.
I think you've said Amazon Freevee about 10 times now. Are you trying to get us a sponsorship from there?
Which is the free version of Prime Video. Anyone can get this. Just go on the Amazon website and click on, it must be Freevee, I guess. But there's an app on for most TVs, most tablets, for anything for Freevee. And it's... Stop laughing.
I just want to count how many times you can say Freevee.
And it's ad supported, so you don't have to pay anything for it. I suspect you have to register just to enter your details, but most people I would think have an Amazon account. And yeah, just type in jury duty. This is the first thing that comes up, obviously. This is a reality TV show it's a retelling of a fake jury trial by jury. I've only seen the first episode, so we're not actually entirely sure what the trial is yet, but we're going through the jury selection process. There are a number of actors that are in this process, and there is one guy who is unaware that this is a fake stitch-up.
I mean, they're all actors, so every single person. This is a fake courtroom. This is a courtroom that wasn't being used, a courthouse that wasn't being used, and so they took it over, dolled it all up. They got all the bit part actors, all the people in the background, they're all actors. People outside, they're all actors. And then the main cast, obviously, are acting as well. So it's not just they've got a couple of people into a building that's in use. They have created almost like a Truman Show-esque.
Yes.
Every single person involved and every single person in the vicinity is an actor, bar this one guy.
And there is a precedence for this. Like in TV, there was an American TV show called The Joe Schmo Show, which was like putting one person into a reality TV show. Do you remember Space Cadets?
No, I don't.
It was a Channel 4 show presented by Johnny Vaughan where they put some people into space and then they weren't really in space. They were just in a...
Really?
Yeah, and then they brought them down. I think...
Was that like a Big Brother in space then, or was there
Yes.
acting involved in that?
Well, no, they just... I mean, there was acting from people who were part of the crew.
Oh, right, okay.
that-
Back in NASA?
Yeah, or whatever
okay.
it was. I think it was let down at one point when a fly got in the
No.
thing. And we're like, how's this here? But yeah, this is a new attempt at this concept. It's been a little while. I thoroughly enjoy this. I don't care how real this is or isn't, because this is closer to something like The Office for me as well, because these are really, really good improvisational actors who, as part of this being a filmed trial, whether it's real or not, they are playing the part. They are having to go to the camera and do these things, almost like if it was The Office. And we get the equivalent of like Tim or Dawn coming up to the camera and talking to it. And these people are playing a part. And the ace in the hole here is a member of the jury is James Marsden.
The actual actor.
Yes. Playing an asshole version of himself who is egotistical. So he styles up to someone. Someone comes up to him for a selfie, who's, again, an actor. And so the Ronald, the guy who is not in on the joke, goes, "Oh God, I just realised you're from you're from the
You're an
X-Men."
X-Man.
Yeah, and he's
You're an
like,
X-Man.
"Well, yeah, I was also in the was also in
Sonic the movie and Westworld, and he just
Westworld,
Notebook.
the Notebook.
Notebook.
And then he goes, and then he goes, "Oh, I thought that woman there was wearing Sonic socks. I was in Sonic as well." And so Ronald goes, "Oh yeah, that film's pretty rubbish." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm one of the leads." And you see the guy's face, like, and then he gets interviewed about it. So the joy of this is, I don't care how true to life this is. I don't care if Ronald is revealed to be an actor at the end of it.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying this for just awkward comedy humour in the same way as The Office, in the same way that I enjoy anything like that, really. It's excruciating at times watching someone go through this, because there is a guy who, there's a juror who tries to get out of this by claiming that he is racist. And then you turn around and he's surrounded by black people and a black foreman of a black.
She's sort of the clerk.
Yeah, the clerk. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
But also people turn around, like you just saying, him having to remember, "Oh, I'm not actually racist," and people turning around going, "That's a bad thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't say that." And it's very true to life. In there's a lot of times where you think, God, these are so good as actors, because we know they're actors, but they're really good improvisational actors. They're reacting in the way that someone would. So when, for example, you're going around a room and everyone has to give one word, some people are a bit over the top, but other people just go, "My word is fine, I'm fine." As normal people would do. They wouldn't all be heightened responses. So I'm enjoying that. And I think it's interesting that you keep mentioning The Office, because I think I listened to an interview that James Marsden did recently talking about this, and I'm sure he mentioned that the people behind this were behind the Office, because he said, "Oh, and I loved The Office," and they said, "Oh, this is what we are wanting to do, is almost like recreate the atmosphere and the vibe of The Office." So I'm sure there's an Office connection somewhere.
So it is produced and created by Lee Eisenberg, who was one of the producers on The American Office.
So that's interesting
sense.
then, that you didn't know that, and that's what you took out of it, and that's and that's what he said he really wanted to do. They wanted to create that. So James, if you're listening, you've done it.
Yeah, well done. Yeah.
I'm the same as you.
Yes.
I don't really care about the trial. I don't really care about, not that I don't care about Ronald, but I don't care if Ronald is revealed to be a plant or if he gets it halfway through. That's not what you're watching it for. I'm watching it for the skill of the acting and not being an actor, thinking, "Oh, how would you respond? How would you know to respond? What would you do?" Because you've got no director telling you, "Oh, go into this zone or go over here and then you're going to go there." There's no breaks. You've just got to keep on it. You're on the whole time.
Because the other part of this, at the end of the first episode, because James Marsden tries to get mobbed by some people to get him removed from the trial, the jury's sequestered. So they will have to be on 24/7. I guess it's like a posher version of that Star Wars hotel where you go for 2 nights.
Yeah, so they all have to stay, and he can't go home, and other people can't go home, so they've all got to be together, and clearly it's going to get more and more absurd, isn't it, as time goes on.
Yes.
Once we get into the trial, things are going to happen that, this guy is going to be like, "What is happening here?" But I think the beauty of it is that it would be difficult to sort of work out that something weird's going on.
Yes.
Because the judge really does. It's very well cast. Judge seems like a proper old school judge, saying all the right things, doing all the right things. James Marsden is playing a really, he's playing the narcissistic Hollywood actor. So the things that he's doing, you kind of think, someone's bound to have done that in the past. And you kind of think, yeah, he would do that. So yeah, it's very good. It is very good.
Yeah.
I'm not compelled to watch.
Okay.
It, I think if you had it on in the background, I'd happily watch it. But I don't feel like it's not like a program like other ones that we've talked about tonight, where you just kind of oh, I really want to know what happens next. But I think it's an interesting concept, and I'm happy to watch it when you are.
I think it's half an hour episodes. Like I said, it's easy to watch. It is free. You can watch it, and they're releasing it weekly. So I suspect there are things coming that will reveal themselves. Then that's the reason why they're doing it weekly. But yeah, I would really check this out, and I think more people should be watching it, and less people will know about it because of the Freevee section of it. I've got some films to talk about.
Yes, let's talk films.
Saturday night at the movies. Who cares what picture you see? When you're with your baby, let's roll in the balcony.
I've been to see Shazam.
The children's film, Shazam. Isn't it? I'm not saying that in a sort of like a...
Do you remember
This
watching the
sort of
first Shazam?
I do, and I remember enjoying it. But it's very sort of like YA, isn't it? It's very... It's skewed towards teenagers, I would say.
Yeah, so this is the second in the series of the Shazam films, the part of the DC extended universe, which soon very well maybe no more.
No more.
Reset, and is the story of a child who's going through the foster system, who, because of his good heart, gets given powers where he can become
An adult.
another, yeah, and with the powers of someone like Superman. He can fly, he's got extra strength, he can, yeah. First one did really, really well. I think it was a breath of fresh air, and it's quite comedic. And in the DC extended universe, it was like I say, breath of fresh air and a different turn. This hasn't done well, probably because it's a lame duck story that's not going to be followed up. Although they try their best with the with post credit stings and stuff like that.
Right.
I think part of the problem is I don't know who this film is for, and because this is very much written from the like it is a kids' film, but then they have people being dropped off buildings, and not just unnamed goons either, like characters that we have met and spent time with, and not being dropped off like a superhero. It's like just civilians, and I was like, I don't quite understand what's going on here.
Yeah, it sounds like a real mix, doesn't it? Of like something that you might see in a Marvel film.
Yeah.
I don't want to bring up Marvel with a DC, but something you might see in a Marvel film that's more for people who are maybe in their 20s and above.
The bad guys. Do you know who the bad guys are in this?
Yeah, it's Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu.
Yes, that's right. I'm never quite sure of their powers. I'm never quite sure of their motivations, other than, I don't want to spoil it, but the motivations are quite unclear, other than just come up and fuck up some shit on Earth. But this is by MacGuffin that's next to a MacGuffin, and if they get both the MacGuffin and the MacGuffin, then the MacGuffins can happen, and and you can get away with that in a kids' movie, but I wish it was more like. Have you ever seen the Spy Kids films?
No, but I think I've probably caught a bit of them on the telly, like on a Sunday afternoon.
I think they're a lot of fun.
A lot of fun and well done.
Just I can sit back and watch them as a kids' film and enjoy them.
Yeah.
I didn't really enjoy this film.
Okay.
I don't think it's well.
It's not done well.
No. I mean, Zachary Levi is absolutely fine as Shazam. And I think Asher Angel is decent as Billy Batson. Jack Dylan Grazer as Freddy is a really, really sympathetic character. He's got problems walking. He walks with with crutches, and that plays into a lot of the storylines. In that he's in the end of the first Shazam, and spoilers for this, he gives all his other fellow foster kids powers, which annoyed me because it's kind of like. Is it about Shazam or is it about all of them?
All these other kids, yeah. Well, I suppose then they become a bit like Mike Morphin Power Rangers, don't they, all together as a gang?
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Adam Brody plays the superhero Freddy really, really well, playing the same as the Fleischman in Trouble.
Playing the character there, yeah.
Rachel Ziegler appears in this. Okay. She comes into this.
Not seen her since West Side Story.
No, she's not done anything. I suppose that came out just before or just during COVID, so that's probably why. Yeah. I've got issues with. I think if we go back to our West Side Story review. I think I had problems with her carrying sort of the emotional weight of that film. That obviously isn't the case in Shazam, that there's not that much emotional weight. And she's a really, really refreshing presence. Like, she brightens up the screen every time she's on.
Yeah.
Seems really, really... Like, yeah, she's got the charisma that I think is needed in this film. But yeah, it's a 2-star film. There is one of the worst pieces of product placement I have ever seen in a film. Like, you know, like where the Chekhov's gun is a proper product placement and gets the full thing along with the catchphrase of the company.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it made me cringe, and I'm like, and I've just been to WrestleMania, so I've seen Hell in a Cell brought to you by the Pope's Exorcist. So yeah, it was. I think these need to be better, and hopefully James Gunn can do something with them. I mean, there's been a lot of to and fro between The Rock and Zachary Levi. I think The Rock was supposed to be in this.
Okay.
The one moment that I liked about this was there is a fun play on the fact that this is a lesser superhero movie.
Okay, so there is a nudge and a wink, and
yeah, in the same way that sort of Deadpool sort of everyone knows going into Deadpool that it's not really you're not going to get
really
crowned.
X-Men.
Yeah. There is a part of this that plays on that, and it made me laugh. That was probably the only point. I just wish this was more fun. Okay. I know it's been out ages, but do you want to talk about Creed 3?
Let's talk about Creed 3, because we haven't in our normal lives.
And it's been a month or two.
Yeah, and actually I've not seen many people talking about Creed 3, so I'd like to sort of get something out there in the podcasting world.
Yeah.
Because there must be other people who have been to see it.
Yeah. So Creed 3 is the story of...
Adonis Creed.
Adonis Creed, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Son of Apollo Creed, protege of Rocky. He is now coming to the end of his career. He is settling down, and a character from his past comes through who threatens to rock his perfect lifestyle.
Yeah, and this is directed by Adonis Creed himself, Michael B. Jordan.
Yes.
Which in his directorial debut, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. And my history with the Creed films has been very positive. I love a boxing film. I love any sort of like martial arts, fighty films. I love the UFC. I love boxing. I don't know why and I love a sports movie. Really, really love a sports movie.
Well, have I got a weekly sporting soap opera for you?
Don't even start. But yeah, I mean, I watched the wrestling movie, that Fighting with My Family. I watched that. See, so I do every now and again buy into your WrestleMania. Oh, look, no pun intended, your WrestleMania. Right, let's carry on. So yeah, I love a sports movie, and I really, even though we all know the arc of a sports movie, it's like, oh, are they going to win? Are they not going to win? Someone comes along who's a big baddie, and then they win at the end. I really quite enjoy that, personally. I really love a montage. I love the whole idea of someone looking like so the storyline tells us, oh, they're really out of shape, when actually they look like a god. And then then they have to get back into shape, and then and they're running, and the music comes in. Sports movies really do it for me. So I really, really liked Creed 1 and Creed 2, which obviously had the Sylvester Stallone element to it as well. Creed 3 does not. Sylvester Stallone does not appear in this film. I think he's an executive producer, but I suspect that is a legal thing. Yeah. And I went into Creed 3 just full of sort of happiness, and let's just go with it. Let's just see where we are. I have to say, I really enjoyed it. And that might be because of all the things I've talked about the sports movie, because this does do those things.
Yes.
There are montages, there are people pulling planes with their bodies, there is a baddie who might not be as bad, and I mean, there's nothing in this film that is complicated at all. And even when you think, oh, they might be about to do something quite interesting, they don't. I enjoyed some of the directorial flashes that Jordan brings in, or B. Jordan, brings in. There are some interesting things in the ring, things that I hadn't seen before. And I came out of it thinking, I have had a really good time in this film. And then the more I thought about it, the more I realised that there were major plot holes and major problems with it. But I have to say, I did really like it for what it is. I liked it for what it was. I had a good time at the cinema with it, and it didn't disappoint me. What did you think about it?
Okay. So I think that Michael B. Jordan's direction is excellent. There is a shot that's been well shared online, but like where Damien, the guy from his past who comes up, is sat in his dressing room, and there is a wall separating him from the corridor into the dressing room, and Adonis is walking out of it, and it is absolutely beautiful.
I think
shot.
the cinematography is very good, so I think we need to give credit to cinematography as well as the direction.
There are some beautiful shots of like in a montage, someone running up the Hollywood Hills is always going to work at magic hour, just as the sun's setting, the orange skies over the Hollywood Hills. Drone shot, it's going to be good, I've seen far worse directorial performances. For me, Michael B. Jordan, and this is the problem with a lot of debut directors that I find, they try to get their shit in. And for me, he tries to do that during the final thing. And for me, that didn't work.
When you say the final thing, you mean the final
fight?
Yeah, okay.
It's very stylized, and it does things that I've not seen before, but it just didn't work for me.
Okay.
It didn't work for me at all, and it took me out of the film. And like, I can understand, I see what he's going for. For me, it's a swing and a miss. I've heard other people who really liked that and thought it tied into the themes of the films, but no, for me, that didn't work.
Okay.
For me, this is a really, really tight 2-hour film. And you know what you're going to get. Like, the second this comes in, you can draw the line of where this goes. But for me, this is going to be a rarity of me saying this needs an extra 15 minutes on it.
I agree, yeah.
There is a jump of someone getting a place in a boxing match that 100% would never, ever happen. So Damien, I'm not gonna do major spoilers, but Damien gets put in a boxing match for his debut match that he would never, ever, ever get. And I think what you need is just 10 minutes of him, or even 5 minutes of montage of him just taking apart like low-level boxers, so that he has a record, and then he can step into the match that
to show you that progression. And I think there are other times as well, particularly around the Damien character, where we see his life change. Well, we don't see his life changing, actually. Scrap that. We see his life has changed.
Yes.
Quite significantly. He's with a nameless, sort of completely non-speaking woman, which is always interesting, isn't it? Who's in an apartment that it looks very grand and doesn't look like where he might have been living 5 months ago. I would like to see how that money was made. I would like to see where this woman came from. We seem to be dropped into his life.
Yes.
And we don't see where that has come from. And I think you're right. I think you need montage is your friend, but also maybe some other scenes to show the progression of time and to show the change in that character in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I also thought Tessa Thompson had very little to do in this.
Yeah. I thought there was going to be I wonder whether there was a plot line, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I wonder whether there was a plot line that was then taken out afterwards, because they seem to be going down a certain path.
Yeah.
And then it just didn't happen. And then her character seemed to change their mind on the turn of a dime.
It sounds like it's been focus groups. Yeah.
I agree with you.
We have to mention, obviously, Jonathan Majors. Since this film has been released and since Ant-Man and Quantumania, there have been...
he's been arrested.
Yeah, he's been arrested for domestic abuse, and if you look online, there are allegations being made around his character. That puts a lot of filmmakers in a lot of problems by things that he has signed up for and franchises that are planned around him. But
And it makes it very uncomfortable for me to say what I'm going to say now. Obviously, we don't know the outcome of that. You know, when someone's arrested, it doesn't mean they've done anything.
Yeah.
But hang on. When someone's arrested, they haven't yet been through a court process, so it's important to say that. But Jonathan Majors is a brilliant actor.
Yeah.
And he absolutely steals the show in this film.
Yeah.
And I think the facial acting, it's almost like there's something that's going on in the way that his mouth, in the way that he speaks, in the lines across his face tell a story that the words coming out of his mouth don't need to do. I thought his physical performance in this in particular was really, really good, and I think, like I say, he stole the show. Yeah. And you wonder what might have had all of whatever's going on in his private life, if that means that there aren't going to be any other film or filmmakers decide not to go down that route.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, would this become, where's the franchise going to go from here? And I did wonder whether he would become part of that.
I've got a different idea where this franchise
is
going to go.
I also have a different idea with the franchise. Yeah, they do seem to be trying to set something up at the end.
Rolls eyes.
Yeah, I know. I thought you might be, and I don't mind that at all. I think any... there are no spoilers here, but I think they might be going down the route of, maybe it's not just men that box. Which for me as a woman, I would love to see that. I would love to see a Rocky film or a Creed film, like an up to date. I'm not talking about some of the old, because I know there have been films of women boxing, but I'd love to see an up to date, a contemporary version of women boxing. With that glamour, with that styling that a Creed film has, like
sort of big prize money, sort of
spotlights. I just see where this is going.
About $1 million. Yeah. Probably not call him like such a bad word like baby or anything like that, but yes. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
There were problems with it.
I find I like things to be a little bit believable, and I say that as someone who's just walked out of WrestleMania. But yeah, and I think there are problems in the script that could have been easily resolved.
Yes.
To not make this. I want to shout out the thing, but
final film of the podcast is what that I haven't seen, but that's only because it's a franchise film again. So. And this is number 4 in the series. So there was no point in me coming with you to see number 4 when I've only seen number 1, and this is John Wick.
Have you only seen 1?
I've only seen John Wick 1. I want to see John Wick 1, but it's not John Wick 1, it's just John Wick. Yeah, I've only seen... And you know what? They've been showing on Sky, they've been showing some of the other films, and I think if I had a very different life, I could quite happily just sit on the sofa and watch 2, 3 and 4, sort of like every couple of nights.
Yeah.
But I don't have that life, so I'm not able to watch 2 and 3 and then go and see 4 with you. I would really like to follow, because I understand that, and you tell us about this in a moment, I understand that there's more lore to that they have created a lore around the John Wick sort of sequels that maybe I would find quite interesting, and what I don't want to do is go jumping into the 4th one and not really understanding the background to it. Have you've clearly seen all of them then?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. Oh dear, that's a big sigh.
Right, so I would say there is a law around this that they have set up. I would suggest that the law is, there's some... that'd be convenient just for this moment at this certain point, and we won't reference this at any other point in the future films. I really liked in the first John Wick film the fact that they kind of, when they went to the Continental, which is the hotel, they kind of hinted to this underworld code or anything like that. And I think the fact that this was kind of touched upon but never fully shown, I think that I really, really enjoyed that.
There's some intrigue there, isn't there? Yeah.
there is now. Oh yeah, so there's some coins that everyone has, which had never. Well, that's probably an episode 2 thing. There is like the code of the things, but that's not really an episode 3 thing. And then there is this high table, which is really an episode 4 thing, and none of which show ever the Twain Country me. I'm not fully versed in them. I've only seen any of these films once, so I might be getting this totally wrong, and there might be some really deep written lore that is sewed through this that I don't get. I suspect not. What these are absolutely exceptional action films. I could sum up the plot of this in one sentence. John Winn. John Winn.
Who's he?
John Wick. Killing people. That's just what happens. The John Wick films are darlings of the movie critic world because it references all these Japanese and Chinese and Far Eastern martial arts films, and the stunt work on this is absolutely top notch, and it is. But if we criticise the fast films for going from location to location, loading up set piece after set piece with very, very little plot, you probably could bring these films into this as well, the John Wick films, because this goes from the Far East through to France. There is scenes in the USA, and it is just set piece after set piece, and then they do a little tour of Paris.
Do you care? Because sometimes when you won't go into a fast film, for example, that's what you're going to get. You're not going to get complicated plotting, but you're going to see all these different things, and you're going to see brilliant action. Do you care with the John Wick franchise? Did you care with 4 that that's what was happening?
Yes and no. Like, every single action set piece on this left my jaw on the floor. But it's 3 hours long, and that's a long time for, like...
That is long.
Yeah.
For that, if it was a tight 2 hours.
100%. These are elongated fight scenes. These go on for, probably up to sort of for half an hour at a time, and I think a 20 minute, or just cut 10 minutes off each one, and everyone comes out more refreshed and happy. That's how it feels. Look, Keanu Reeves is obviously brilliant in this. Keanu Reeves is not a good actor. He's never going to. But
I find it really hard when people say that, because he hasn't got to this stage without doing something. It might not be that he's a dramatic actor, like, I can't think of any dramatic actors off the top of it, but
Laurence Olivier.
yeah, exactly. Like, he's probably not going to be up for the acting awards and the Oscars and that sort of thing. But I don't think you can say that he is a bad actor, because acting comes in lots of different shapes and sizes. And for what he is doing here, I think he is a phenomenal actor. I know you're not going to agree with me, but I think it's really hard to say, well, only these people are good actors. You're only going to get plaudits if you do this, or if you're this type of person. I think you can be a phenomenal actor in lots of different ways.
Okay, yeah,
okay,
that's
me
fine.
Getting on my soapbox.
My biggest problem with these films these are the world's best hitmen. In the second film, they introduced these bulletproof suits, which, I mean, just give someone infinite lives on a computer game.
Yeah.
But if these are the best things in the world, why can no one do a headshot? End of film. 2 seconds in. Just put it an inch up and.
So it's the logic of it.
Yeah, the logic of it. And sometimes, like, he'll cover his head with this suit,
which makes sense.
Yes, but most of the time he's just in a hail of bullets. But no one thinks to just go raise their arm like about an inch and then aim a little bit higher. There are people who wear helmets and they can aim at their head and fire, but then they've got to do it under the chin. Yeah. But they don't think to do that with people who aren't. And all the way through, I'm just like, this is inexcusable. But like I said, there are amazing fight shots in this. There is one at the Arc de Triomphe, which is genuinely like something I've never seen before. It takes place in running traffic.
Well, it is. It's very busy
Yes.
around there.
Well, imagine a fight that's like a game of Frogger that's going on during this. It's something I've never ever seen before. There is one that takes place overhead, which kind of reminds me of. I think there's a scene in. What's the Boardwalk Empire? What's the film on the board? What's the TV show on the Boardwalk? Where who's the Italian American actor who's
Steve
Bobby
Buscemi?
Cannavale?
Oh, Bobby Cannavale, right.
Bobby Cannavale does it with his Bobby Cannavale out, and it kind of reminded me of that. That was kind of So you see him walking from room to room from an overhead shot, and it was like stunning, absolutely stunning. He's got a shotgun that, for whatever reason, I don't understand the logistics of it. It shoots fire.
Right.
So it's just set people on fire. There is the final thing takes place at the Sacré-Cœur, is it? Yeah, and it's a race against time. There's obviously the Sacré-Cœur. We've been there, haven't we?
No, we went to Notre Dame.
No, we went to Sacré-Cœur as well.
Did we?
Yes.
I can't remember that.
Yeah, because we went into a restaurant and then we had to leave because there was nothing on the menu that you liked.
That's true. Vegetarianism, not a major thing
not
in France
major thing
at the time.
Paris, yeah. And one thing that I do respect this for is that the ending of this is very, very understated. It would be very easy to just go out for another all-out shootout, but this is a more tense and a more considered situation. I don't believe the ending of this film. I was expecting something to happen, which like one shot of something that I didn't get.
Okay.
It tries to tell you a plot point that is not seen on screen, and I don't believe it.
Right.
However, this fully sets up for more films in the franchise. There are new characters that are being. There is a film called The Ballerina, I believe, which is based on a character introduced. Yeah. There is a TV show called The Continental, which is based on the hotel.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure I need the like in like the Conjuring world where every film now has 4 different offshoots. I'm not sure I need these things, but I'll probably go and see them. But yeah, this is a really, really fun, violent film, and this is 100% like knows exactly what it's meant to be. If Shazam didn't know what it meant to be, this 100% knows what it's meant to be. And yeah, I'd recommend you catch up on them because I think they are really, really entertaining.
Yeah.
My favourite is still the first one.
Okay.
Because I think that's very understated. Obviously the plot of the first one is that he's a retired hitman who now...
The dog.
Yes, and
That's the bit I
they
remember
steal
the
his
most.
car and kill his dog, and then he comes out to get them.
Good. I'm very, very much behind him.
And now he's just ended up in a world.
Yeah, no, he's just
everyone's
back
pissed
in
off with him.
yeah.
But yeah, I wish it was shorter, and I wish that there was just a little bit more in there, and I wish that they could somehow explain why no one gets shot in the head. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Right, that is it. That is us back on board after a couple of bonus episodes relating to WrestleMania.
Yes.
If you haven't already picked up from this podcast episode and many others before it, Mark has now been to WrestleMania, so there are 2 bonus episodes in our queue. One a couple of days before Mark went off to WrestleMania, just talking about what I have now learned is called the card, and not just the matches that are going to be shown, which is what I would say. But yeah, what was happening there. And then we did a follow-up podcast, which we called the After Party, where Mark takes us through the cards of each night. Is that all right?
That's
the
right,
cards, yeah. But also things like what LA was like, the food prices, and how much it cost to get beer, and also just fun things about wrestling, like did I actually meet a very famous wrestler one night on a night out?
I'm surprised you've not posted that photo yet. But,
yeah, I know, yeah. And other things that I get very confused about, like who is Doink the Clown? You know, still thinking about that. So it's not just for wrestling fans.
I think of Doink the Clown every day.
I think it's quite a fun episode, even if you're not into your wrestling. Couple of fun episodes.
I've heard a lot of people say that, which is entertaining. I'm quite glad about that.
I'm really pleased about it. We've had some really good response to it, actually. But yes, it's been a couple of bonus episodes, but back onto a main show here, and then probably back with some more
pretty soon
over the next few weeks. So yeah, we've got some things lined up. So stick around and see what's coming next.
And if you'd like to follow us, we are The Honeymoon Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And if you'd like to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or a star rating on Spotify, that'd be really, really appreciated.
Thanks very much, everyone.
See you later.